Rolling, rolling, rolling. Doo doo doo. Hey, I'm Jonathan, otherwise known as Jonno, and I want to be the very best like no one ever was.
Hey, I'm Zantok, otherwise known as Lister, and I'm gonna catch them all because that's just what I do.
To catch them, it's my. Oh man, I forgot the
Damn it!
lyrics right off the top of my
I
head.
forgot what the lyric was. I just knew there was something about catching them all, and that's what I was gonna go
Oh,
because I didn't know that you were gonna do that as a bit, so I didn't have anything fucking prepared.
hey,
So great! Thanks for screwing me over,
I screwed
ladies and
myself
gentlemen. I'm
over
now
too.
looking for a new co-host. If you would be interested in the position, you may apply by messaging me on Facebook. Thank you.
We will provide all of that in the description. Well, at least the screw over was mutual because I totally blanked on lyrics I've had stuck in my head for 20 years. Uh, and that's the T, folks. So today, second Smashtopia episode. How are you feeling about that?
Woo! I'm excited
Heck yeah,
for it.
yeah. So last Smashtopia episode was my favorite episode we've done so far.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, it was Waluigi, of course it was. We had all the opportunity to be freaking crazy, like as much as we
Trolls.
wanted to be. Yeah, exactly. But and now we're diving into Pokemon, diving into Gen 1 with Gengar, and it's Happy Halloween.
Oh,
Happy
okay. Well,
Halloween.
I mean, I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
introduce the character a little bit different than that, but hey, sure. Gengar. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, it's 1996 or 1998 for those of you who don't live in Japan, like the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
You turn on the game for the first time, red, blue, whatever version, doesn't matter. And what you see on your screen after the Game Freak logo fades away, you see the back of a shadowy like Pokemon and another Pokemon just running out to attack it. And it's showing you a battle that's going on that you're essentially watching on TV as the game is starting up, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Gengar versus Nidorino. And they use that same intro for the first episode of the anime as well. The very first two Pokemon you ever see when you turn on the game, Gengar and Nidorino.
Mm-hmm.
Why Nidorino? Honestly, I don't know. But Gengar's cool.
Yep.
It's Gengar is the only fully evolved Pokemon in the original Kanto Pokedex. it's it has an entire town and setting that's just perfect for goats, being the Lavender Tower, which is where dead Pokemon are buried. There's
Mm-hmm.
an Elite Four member, Agatha, that uses ghost-like Pokemon only, which means she has like two Gengars and two Haunters, which is really kind of stupid. In all honesty, they should have included more ghosts if they were going to create a character that specialized in them. But
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make the games.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't make the decision to only introduce one new ghost type in the second set of games, but whatever. I'm not Game Freak, clearly. But Don and I sat down. We were just like, okay, we want to do a Pokemon for
Mm-hmm.
Smashtopia fairly early on because there's over 800 of these guys. And while, no, we're not going to make a character out of all of them, good God, no. Can you imagine making a moveset for
Ah,
Magikarp?
never say never.
Oh, God. I'm saying never.
I'll say
We knew
someday.
we wanted to do a Pokemon. We both had a few different ones that we were considering that these could be good, these could be good, but there was one that we both felt like this Pokemon could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that Gengar is yet another Gen 1 Pokemon, when we don't even have a Gen 3 or a Gen 5 rep in Smash, which I hear you, I agree with that. That's nonsense.
Pelipper for
We
Smash.
we not who I would go with, but I know you like your big build bird.
Mm-hmm.
We both just like the idea of Gengar. We really wanted to use it, and it's got its fun episode in the anime. It doesn't really have a huge importance to the series overall, but until Gen 7, it was one of the best Pokemon to use competitively. It was in the OU tier for Smogon pretty
Mm-hmm.
much from well, maybe not day one. It might have been Gen 2 on when it was, because originally Ghosts were weak to Psychic when they were supposed to be strong against it because programming errors. So fun times with
Mm-hmm.
that. But having actually, it might have been Gen 3 when they started being good because they got the levitate ability. I'm not really sure,
Yeah.
but they've had to such a strong presence of the competitive scene through that. They got a Mega Evolution in Generation 6. There really hasn't been any characters that necessarily specialize with Gengar besides Agatha, to my awareness. I mean, I guess Morty counts because he also used Ghost in Johto, but
Mm-hmm.
despite all that, they've still been a fan favorite Pokemon. And when they were created, Pokken Tournament, which is the Pokemon fighting game, for those of you that weren't aware that one existed,
Mm-hmm.
not the greatest, could have been better. There was a Twitter. They asked the developers asked on Twitter like what Pokemon that people would like to see in the game, and based on the responses, they added Gengar. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize Gengar was going to be as popular as he was, and because of that, they added him to the game when otherwise he would not have made it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they would have done otherwise. I don't know if there was a different ghost that they had in mind, but I'm still glad that they added Gengar, despite the fact he looks a little weird in the game. The modeling, I don't know what art style they're using for that game, but didn't gel with me. It didn't look quite right. But
Yeah.
the point of it all is, despite Gengar technically not being having a huge presence throughout the anime or the games, it's still very popular.
Mm-hmm.
We don't yet have a ghost type playable in Smash. It's Gen 1. Most people like Gen 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk Gengar. What if Gengar was in Smash?
Exactly. And before we get into that, I'd like to just add Gengar. I feel just design wise and having Gengar at the start of the very first Pokemon game, the start of the very first episode of the Pokemon anime, it is an iconic Pokemon, regardless of being Gen 1. And
Absolutely.
it deserves its spot. Why isn't it a Rhino not iconic for that same reason? Eh, not as cool.
Did you
Uh,
say a Rhydodon?
no, no, I did not.
I
We'll
feel like you did, and it's Nido Rhino.
if we'll go back and we'll play the tapes back later. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, enter Gengar. What if Gengar were playable in Smash, as you said? Uh, Starting from the top, let's go for the entrances. Uh, let's go with what's your first entrance idea?
So I have two possible ideas for
Mm-hmm.
entrances. One of them is more in line with what most of the other Pokemon uses entrances in Smash, and one is just a little bit different, a little bit more thematic with its ghost type.
Mm-hmm.
So most Pokemon in Smash, their entrance animation is a Pokeball gets thrown on the stage and they pop out of it. You know,
Yeah.
plain and simple, easy, easy. So for mine, it's like instead of having it be a regular Pokeball, I have it being a Dusk Ball because Dusk Balls are more effective either in caves or during night.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's kind of fitting for Gengar. It's a ghost. Ghosts come out at night, so a Dusk Ball. Makes a bit more sense than just a regular Pokeball.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that as an idea. My second idea is to have Gengar, he kind of just like flickers in from out of existence. He's just like appears. So it's kind of like, you know, how you have a bad TV signal and just be like flickering.
Mm-hmm.
Or a light that flickers on and off because you know it's about to die. It's sort of that kind of idea. He just appears with the flickering, and it's accompanied with a short, ghostly wail.
I love it. That's not too far from my solo idea for an entrance,
Mm-hmm.
which was more in line with I was thinking slightly more cartoony, maybe influence from the anime, which is no surprise because every Pokemon in Smash is. Uh, where his he flickers in, as you said, with a laugh, and its mouth and eyes appear a little before the rest of its body, but the same general idea. Um,
So kind of like a Cheshire Cat.
Kind of like a Cheshire Cat, yeah, exactly. Or you know, like how Pac-Man Ghost will look when you eat the power pellet.
True.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're thinking of here, but off the top of my head, I like your second idea.
Okay. I really wasn't sure either way which one of them I prefer. I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of I like both because on the one hand I like there being themes.
Mm-hmm.
Like most Pokemon come out of a Pokeball. I love that idea. It makes a lot of sense.
True.
But for Gengar, I mean, and Mewtwo doesn't come out of Pokeball. He just teleports in essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might be the only Pokemon that doesn't come in through a Pokeball, or maybe Greninja might be different as well.
Got it.
I would have to check. I'm not sure at the moment. But Gengar just feels like it's one that it could have its own unique appearance.
I
As well.
agree.
Like
I agree.
if Pseudo Wudo somehow got in, that one's coming out of a Pokeball.
Mm-hmm.
Gengar's got options, and so I'm totally good to go with the flickering.
Yeah, so am I. Even though Waluigi, it's just such a character built through personality, and we were
Mm.
able to play off of that a lot. And we knew going into making it most other characters besides Waluigi, not even just Gengar, that we wouldn't have that kind of template to really work off of as liberally. I still, with this move set, partial spoiler, try to just incorporate a lot of ghostly aspects and of Gengar's typing and character into it too. So
Mm.
that's what I was thinking of. I think if this were, or someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the anime it's appeared similarly out of the blue in the past.
Ah,
Uh,
to be honest, the
mm-hmm,
only Gengar I remember the anime
mm-hmm,
is the one Pokemon Tower episode where
mm-hmm,
Ash is trying to get a Haunter, or really a
mm-hmm.
Ghost type in general, to beat Sabrina. That's all I remember.
Got it. Yeah, I don't remember much either, but that's just kind of the show. We are passionate. We're not necessarily professionals. Um,
If we were,
so
we'd be making money.
if anyone wants to sponsor us, message me.
Cream
Let's see.
soda, please.
Cream soda, please. A couple $100 here and there. That'd be nice.
Oh, hell
Okay,
yeah.
so off the top of my head, if we're gonna go with one, I would choose your flickering in.
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay, moving on to taunts. Since you started
Taunts
off
and
with
victory
the
poses.
yeah, exactly. Since you started off with the entrances, I'll go for my up taunt first.
Okay.
So my idea, and this is playing into the character of a mischievous ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Gengar will lift its hands up. It's just standing there in its idle pose, but it'll lift its hands up over its ears. You know, when you're a kid in grade school or kindergarten, and you will put your hands up to your face and wiggle your hands kind of alternatingly towards someone that you, or wiggle your fingers towards someone that you've beaten in hacky sack or something, and it's kind of like a nanny boo boo kind of thing, and you stick your tongue out at them, razzmatazz. That that
Na 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 na.
yeah, exactly. Expressionately taunting its opponent like that, and laughing at them with that expression.
I wish I had thought of that because that's brilliant.
Eyes closed and
I
smiling.
see.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of something very similar to that, and I have it
Mm-hmm.
tentatively marked as like my down taunt,
Mm-hmm.
but that's perfect. I really do wish I had thought of that one. That's great.
The tides are
That fits
turning.
right into his ghostly trollish nature.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, another classic facial expression like taunt that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about, even though it's not my up taunt that I have written down. You watch the anime.
Oh yeah.
You know that thing some characters do when they want to taunt somebody. You know, they pull down their eyelid a little and they stick up their tongue.
Oh
You know
yeah.
that. Yeah, that's one of my taunts. I don't
I
know
like
what
it.
that's called. I just have it written down as the classic anime taunt because I don't
It
know what to call it.
Hey, it happens a lot in Pokemon, so I wish I
It
thought of that.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Misty does it to Ash super early on.
Yep. Yep. No, I like it. We'll more than likely find a place for it, and I don't know why I really set up taunt. These can be for anything, and we can just sort it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, but what I have tentatively put down as my down taunt is just something similar to the entrance. Gengar disappears from frame, with the exception of its eyes and mouth, and it makes a harrowing cackle and returns to frame. That's it. Just kind of a little classic horror buzz.
So I've got something super similar to that as well, and it's actually my up.
Mm-hmm.
I have it as Gengar's body will do a slow fade.
Mm-hmm.
And by slow, I mean slow for a taunt standard. It's not necessarily slow because taunts have to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it slowly fades out until only the mouth and tongue remain. Specifically, mouth and tongue, not even the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
just the mouth and tongue to make it even weirder. Gengar looks at a creepy as hell laugh because ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest of Gengar reappears.
No, I like that. I like using tongue, and that includes the practice of Smash Brothers. So that's good. That's good. After that, honestly, just kind of got a little less creative with my final taunt, which is just Gengar points at an opponent and jovially laughs with an amused expression. Maybe its tongue is sticking out of its mouth just a little bit and it's biting down. Humored. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
my last taunt. This one is kind of sort of based off of the Pokemon Tower episode of the anime.
Mm-hmm.
The in that episode, you see Gengar balancing on a circus ball,
Mm-hmm.
upside
Okay.
down, hold with one of his hands. That's not the taunt. That's not the taunt, though.
Okay.
The taunt is actually the circus ball will appear in front of Gengar. You know, it's next to his foot, and Gengar moves to kick it.
Mm-hmm.
Except, he kind of pulls a Charlie Brown. There's no Lucy, but he goes to kick, he whiffs hard, falls flat on his back, and he's actually affected by the trip status condition.
Nice.
Why? Why not? But I'm not done.
Mm-hmm.
The circus ball actually rolls forward a very, very short distance. Like, I'm talking like as wide as Kirby is.
Mm-hmm.
That distance. That's it. And if another opponent is in that ball's way, they are dealt 1% of damage, and they are also tripped. Much like how Greninja, Luigi, and Snake all have taunts that can do 1% of damage if an opponent gets hit by either it's Luigi's kick, Greninja's little water spouts, or Snake's cardboard box.
Mm-hmm.
Like that circus ball could damage and trip an opponent, but Gengar also gets tripped.
No, I love it. I love it. Good on you for coming up with that one. I would say let's fast track that. For sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
I'm
couple that
sure.
there's a couple of these taunts that I feel like are locks.
Yeah, well, here's the problem: we only have room for 3.
Yeah, and all of them are pretty decent. What are there any that you feel passionate about?
I mean, I really like. We both had a similar idea of his body kind of disappearing, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a laugh, and then also
Yeah.
we had like the anime taunt where he pulls down the eyelid, and then also the na 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 na.
Oh man.
I feel like we want at least one of the anime taunt or the na na na. At least one. We could have both, but
Mm-hmm.
also I will say on the circus ball thing,
Mm-hmm.
I have something similar for the victory pose, and we could save one of these if we don't end up.
That's
picking up
true.
taunt,
That's
it can
true.
become a victory pose.
That's true.
Just because we lose something that's taunt here doesn't mean we lose it entirely. Like some
True.
of my victory poses, I'm not opposed to dropping.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shoot. I think we made the decision on taunts now in the Waluigi episode. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to. now
Oh,
for
actually, we
for
waited
victory
until
poses.
we did both.
Okay.
We talked about taunts and
Okay.
victory poses first.
Well, folks, this is all just a part of the recording process. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we can move on to victory poses.
Yes, and then we'll
Okay.
come to our decisions.
Sure thing. What do you have in mind?
So for my first victory pose that I have written down is that kind of similar to the entrance I wrote down. Gengar will start to flicker into view on the left side of the screen, back in the background, before he flickers back out again. Then he reappears closer, maybe about mid-range on the screen, on the right side of the screen. Flickers back out again. Then he reappears really close to the camera, flickers back in, just right there in your face. I kind of took a tiny bit of inspiration from The Shining for that, where you have like 2 twins in the hallway that kind of like disappear, reappear as they get getting closer. That's kind of the idea I had going with this.
Nice. No, I like that too, and it's similar to that. I had an idea inspired by classic horror. Nothing specific like The Shining, where Gengar will snap its fingers and the screen totally turns to black, and then just a split second later, its mouth becomes visible with its tongue, and then its eyes become visible a second later, and it's staring straight towards the screen with its face right up against the screen, staring back at you, and that's all that you see as the rest of the screen is black, and there's a cackle. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. What's next on your agenda?
So my second one is actually that scene where Gengar is bouncing on the circus ball. That's it. That's the victory animation. He's bouncing on the circus ball right there, having a good old time. He just wants to have fun.
Nice.
That's victory pose number 2. Plain and simple.
Well, on that note, I'll give you my simple one too. Then, all I had was something maybe too simple. Gengar drops onto its back in a fit of belly laughs. That's it. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, just little little mischievous, but nothing scary.
All right. So then my third one then is that that's the start.
Mm-hmm.
Gengar's nowhere to be found. The
Mm-hmm.
camera pans to the left, then pans back to the right.
Oh my god.
Still can't find Gengar. And then suddenly, jump scare sound effect. Gengar's right in front of the camera, wags its tail around it, or tail, wags its tongue around, and just starts laughing uproariously because he just jump scared the hell out of you.
Nice. Oh man, that was a good one. Because my last one is only I have it as Gengar transforms into Mega Gengar, but it doesn't have to. Either way, just imagine it in either form, zipping in and out of vision, where it will fade in from the left, fade in from the right, then fade into the center, and just look at the camera, laugh, done. That was it. That's all.
So that's my first victory pose. What you just said.
Basically, but yours was better.
The only difference between ours is that yours is Mega Gengar and mine was regular Gengar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, well that makes that easy.
Yes, it
I
does.
did have a bonus one as well,
Mm-hmm.
one that I considered, but I didn't end up keeping it as one of my top three. It's basically Gengar is already right there in front of the camera, and he just gives the camera screen a big old lick with his tongue.
Oh my god.
Spectral slime just left on the screen,
Oh my
and it just
god.
looks nasty.
That plays into something that we're gonna touch upon a little later.
Oh, I bet it does.
Oh yeah. It also reminds me of a character that I had in mind for a future episode. But
Licky tongue,
no, you were close
licky
though.
licky.
Uh, Chucky Finster.
So Gooey from Kirby.
No, it was actually Chucky, but we can talk about that at a later time.
Okay,
Okay.
so now we got to figure out what of our three taunts, what are our three victory poses.
Mm-hmm.
We got some good ones. We got to decide between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't make that lock stick because I spoke way too soon, and I also forgot about your anime taunt pose at the same time. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
so
thanks for that.
so what are you feeling for taunts?
So I think first of all, the Gengar flickering in and out of view, we should keep that as a victory pose because we both said that one.
Agreed.
So since we both said it, let's go ahead and both keep that.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned let's fast track the kicking the circus ball. Do you still feel that way?
No, because there's two possible options involving the circus ball, and I feel kind of like we should maybe only go for one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're saying let's keep him bouncing on a circus ball for a victory pose.
If you want to go that way, that's totally fine with me. I do think we can
Oh,
go that way.
I'm sorry. You were saying do one or the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got you now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the taunts, I really want to do both of the facial expression ones, the anime taunt and the nana nana nana. I really want to do both of those. I like them both a lot.
I agree. I agree.
It's a question: do we want to have them both be taunts though, or do we want to have one of them be a victory pose?
Right. Right. Because well, victory poses. Let's go over that really quick. We had the jump scare one that I loved, and I think should also be included 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can't recall the belly laugh one. Let's just toss that aside.
Okay.
Screen turning black. I like that, but it's very similar to the jump scare. So that might be something if you wanted to incorporate one of those two taunts as a victory pose, or if you wanted to do the circus ball one as the final victory pose,
Mm-hmm.
it might be a good time to fast track that.
So we've got flickering as one of the victory poses. I
Mm-hmm.
really like the circus ball one. Jump scare one is great. I
Mm-hmm.
think we can do without licking the screen.
Agreed.
And then I don't necessarily think belly laughs is bad.
No, I don't know.
I do agree with you though that we don't need both jump scare and the screen going black.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question of more: do we want belly laughs or do we want jump scare?
Uh, I want jump scare.
Okay.
That's what I'm feeling.
So our three victory poses that are going to be flickering into view, the circus ball balancing act, and jump scare.
Sounds good to me.
All right, those are our three victory poses. You heard it here first, folks. Which
Nice.
means that I'm assuming our taunts are going to be Nana Nana,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the classic enemy taunt, and then either a second with the circle ball where he kicks it, or him slowly fading away and then having the tongue and mouth thing.
Right. Let's
So
see.
what is it going to be?
It's a little bit more difficult to say. The circus ball. I mean, it's from a notable episode of the anime, and it would have its place
Well,
having a separate.
it is, but it's actually the circus balls from the anime. The actual kicking the ball thing, I made that up.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. It was derived from Peanuts, and I like that.
Yes.
Uh, Gengar's disappearing from frame. I mean, that's iconic to Gengar. But if we think about it, we also already have that as the entrance. So if you wanted to make it a little more, if you wanted to keep it closer to character, maybe the disappearing from frame. But if you wanted to make it a little more zesty and expressionable, then maybe we should go for the ball.
So something else that we could do that I just came up with.
Hmm.
What if he just kind of like rocks on the back of his feet and just laughs?
Yeah, that would work too. That would
Like
work too.
that would fit him pretty darn well.
Hmm. I think I know what I'm going for with between the three ideas.
What's that?
Want to say it on the count of three, even though there's going to be some delay. It doesn't matter too much. If you feel passionate about something, that is
I'm
okay.
more interested to hear what you think, actually.
Okay, I'll count myself down.
Okay.
3, 2, 1,
Banana
ball.
party.
Exactly.
Yes. So kicking the circus ball then. Okay. I kind of thought you were going to go with the last since that was one of your victory pose ideas.
No, I'm all for making a character have a personality. So that's
All right.
yeah.
Sounds good to me then.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one more thing that we need to figure out before we can get into actual meat of a character's moveset,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the Kirby hat.
Yep.
Now I don't got much really special in mind here because for the Pokemon, they're generally more or less the same idea of Kirby kind of wears just like a skin cap that looks at the top half of that Pokemon's head.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally speaking the idea. I don't think that's different for any of the Pokemon. I'm pretty sure all of them are like that
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I have for Gengar as well. It's just like he wears like a skin cap at the top of Gengar's head. You know, it's dark purple. You see the little ears and like the spiky tuft of hair in the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's more or less it. There's not much special you can do there.
That's true. So what I had in mind for the Kirby hat was Kirby takes on that iconic tufty hair, right?
Yep.
But he also wears Chucky's glasses. And like Chucky, if you get hit, you can actually lose the glasses and it will make you trip during gameplay until you find the glasses again.
I don't know why I never see the bits coming from you. Like you'd think after these many years I would be able to tell when you're about to go on some weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I never can. And I'm always just sitting there just like, damn it, got me again. Why did I
Now,
ever let him talk?
now the Rugrats and Paris stage I have in mind is inspiring, but I think for Gengar we are both on the same page with the Kirby hat.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not other options unless you just say, "Oh, Kirby turns purple." But then what about if he has alternate skins?
Yeah,
I mean, what happens?
Kirby turns
Kind
purple
of,
with red eyes and a creepy smile.
nah, God no,
It would just look bad.
it would look bad.
Yeah. Well, with that said, meat and potatoes, right? Special
Yes,
moves.
special moves. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know how you did your moves,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, all of mine come directly from the learn list that he has in the Pokemon games. Like every move I gave him, he actually learns through the games. One of
Yeah.
them, one of them was difficult to come up with. I'm still not happy with it, but I couldn't think of anything else for the out special, so
Mm-hmm.
this should be fun.
I have some stuff in mind too. How I approached it was I did go off the move list, but I also and there I think there's certain moves that people find to be iconic to Gengar, and
Yeah.
I kept some of those moves for sure in the moveset. But because they would be deemed as typical, I went for other angles on how they would actually be incorporated and function. So
Interesting.
it'll be interesting, and I know that you like to come in sideways a lot and surprise me like with Waluigi. So I am very interested in seeing what you have for your specials. Where would you like to start?
I don't honestly don't know if there's going to be much surprises in this one for me. Like his moves, well, I have some added qualities to them. The Rattler's standard,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and like there were a couple moves just to go on a brief tangent here. There were a couple moves that are like big traditional ghost type moves that I really considered,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't figure out how to get them to work. Like curse, that's a big move that's associated with ghost types, but I could not think of how to make it work in Smash and be satisfied with the idea, so I didn't include it.
Maybe I did. We'll see.
Maybe you did. I don't know. Because like my problem with it was like, oh, ghost types use this move and they lose 50% of their health, and then the opponent gets hurt every turn. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
but how can I translate that in a satisfying way? Could have come up with anything that I really liked. But starting from the top, and by top I do not mean up specials. It's time for the standard special. What I had, this is a move that when I first thought of Gengar and Smash, like upwards of a year ago, I had one move in mind that I just loved the idea of, and I was always going to include it. It could theoretically work as a side special as well,
Mm-hmm.
but for my standard special, I have Shadow Punch.
Nice.
Most people might be thinking, wait, but why not Shadow Ball? That makes more sense for Gengar, and you're right, it does. But
Mm-hmm.
Mewtwo already has that move, and I don't like doubling up on Pokemon moves, so no Shadow Ball. So, but my idea for Shadow Punch, you might be thinking, oh, it's so he just punches. I mean, yes, but also no. What I have in mind for this is Gengar. He charges up the punch,
Yeah.
and if you don't charge it all, it is just a punch. He just punches forward. It's a little bit stronger than a regular punch, but whatever. But if you charge it, then when he throws his punch, his fist disappears from his body, disappears from the map.
Mm-hmm.
But a set distance later, depending on how long you charge the move, the shadowy fist reappears and punches. So it's a ranged punch.
Nice.
And the opponent is not going to know where it is or when it's coming unless you know it's a pro player who has studied this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to be like, "All right, the fist is gone." Um, um, oh, got it. Stop punching the face.
Yep. Oh man. And as it's ranged, would it be
Mm-hmm.
able to be arced like Pit's arrows, or would you have some sort of free range as you're charging it for it to appear, say, you know, some diagonal distance away, or would it just be straight moving?
I was debating on that actually. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure on my answer to be honest, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are a lot of moves and a lot of moves for characters I've created that do allow for a slight arcing.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes you need to have one that just doesn't have an arc, especially since this move is one where you don't actually see it coming, you don't see it
Mm-hmm.
following a path. I feel like don't I feel like it shouldn't arc. It
Yeah.
should be a straight
Yeah.
shot.
It's okay. That's fair. I do like that, and I have Shadow Pencil in my moveset, but I use it very differently. So what I have for my standard is a move that you just tore down and said you didn't want.
You had Shadow Ball, didn't you?
Yeah, I have Shadow Ball, but let me explain.
Okay, go for it.
Gengar raises its arms into the air as a Shadow Ball
Mm-hmm.
materializes in its hands. Okay, so right off the top, just the way that it looks is very different from Mewtwo's function.
Fair, fair.
It operates separately from Mewtwo's Shadow Ball actually for a few reasons though, because number one, I think it maintains separate properties unless I'm forgetting. Mewtwo's Shadow Ball has an electric effect to it, unless that changed because I can't recall off the top of my head.
Uh, I think it might be darkness now because darkness wasn't really
Okay,
like a quote unquote element
okay,
in melee. Because I know Gang or not Gengar, but Gandorf had like an electric attack as well.
that's true. Uh, no, I'm pretty sure Ganondorf's Warlock Punch was always with darkness effect though.
No, his up special.
Yeah, yeah, that was true.
That's what I'm
That was
referring
true.
to.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, okay. I was thinking of darkness though, and it just works for Shadow Ball, and that's not going to change. But secondly, it travels at an angle, travels at an arc. So,
Not necessarily. It has like a wavy pattern to it.
oh no, I'm talking about Gengar's Shadow
Oh,
Ball.
I'm sorry. I was still thinking Mewtwo. My
No,
bad.
it's okay.
Continue.
Mewtwo is dreamy. It's easy to think about for a while and just lose your train of thought. But no, Gengar. The Shadow Ball travels in an angle. Think Robin with Arc Fire, but stronger and further moving. And Gengar throws it diagonally. The default can be downwards, but as you're charging it, you can also angle it upwards. So you get an upwards arc with Shadow Ball, or you get a downwards arc with Shadow Ball. So you open up some plausible strategies for the move to break it away from someone who is, I forget the technical term, but say they're intentionally grabbing onto a ledge and just kind of sticking there. Throw that Shadow Ball down.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming at you from an upwards angle. Toss it up. So it's a good defensive move and a ranged projectile. So it offers that new basis to Smash gameplay that I don't really think we see in many characters, at least not to that extent. Like even Pit with his arcing arrows wouldn't be able to necessarily provide as much defense as Gengar's Shadow Ball. So that was my approach towards including an iconic move for Gengar when it's already an iconic move for Mewtwo that's in the game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much a it attacks more or less. It could go right at Gengar's feet, or it
Mm-hmm.
can like be thrown a little bit farther, but it's more of an explosion down to the ground.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and it could summon a little bit of a darkness explosion too. I hadn't thought of that. So
Well, I mean, like when it makes impact with the ground, it probably like has a small
yeah,
explosion. Right? Kind of like you mentioned Robin's fireball. It makes contact with the ground. And there's like a small explosion of fire there.
yeah, and I'm thinking Shadow Ball, similar in size to Mewtwo's fully charged Shadow Ball too, or like those weird balls that the Mii brawlers use.
Right. The
Mm-hmm.
shot puts.
Yeah, the shot puts. Okay, onwards to the side specials, I guess.
Yep. So for the side specials, actually, well, shit. Talking about the side specials, kind of. Well, no, I guess I can talk about it here first. I was thinking, like, it kind of has a connection to some of my later moves.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about it now kind of spoils a little bit of what I'm going for later. But for my side special, I have Hex.
Nice.
Now, Hex in the Pokemon games, it's more like a small, shadowy ball
Mm-hmm.
that gets tossed out, and it does extra damage to the opponent that's affected by a status condition, such as paralysis, being frozen, burned, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, you know what? I really like that effect. Let's translate that to Smash. So if an opponent is being currently taking damage from poison, or they're asleep, they they are under the effects of a pitfall or a Deku Nut or just something along the lines of what Smash considers stats effects.
Mm-hmm.
Hex is going to deal extra damage because hey, fun times.
Yeah.
And as far as like how the projectile is thrown, I envision it as like as small, kind of like the smallest version of Mewtwo's Shadow Ball,
Nice.
because I feel like something like this, considering its effect on it, it should be easier to dodge or at least easier to miss with it.
Mm-hmm.
And its pattern to get it's thrown at, I kind of envision it sort of like a kind of like Luigi's green fireball, where it spirals forwards. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of see this move sort of like a spiraling ball of darkness as well,
I can
except
see
I
that.
feel like it's going to be a tighter spiral and a faster spiral.
Okay, got it.
It doesn't really do much on like how the move works. It's more like an aesthetic type of spiral.
Okay, so you throw the hex and it hits an opponent, and during the time that the hex is affecting the opponent, they are dealt more damage.
It's if they are currently suffering from a status effect, then they take extra damage.
Okay,
And it's
understood.
not necessarily like a second point of damage. It's more like the damage
Mm-hmm.
amount is just larger.
Got it. This is going to be interesting as we build into this.
Oh yes, I'm
The
sure.
Oh yeah, the side special for that I had in mind is another move iconic to Gengar, much like Hex or Shadow Ball or Shadow Punch, but this time it uses his tongue, just like how we like it. Gengar, I wrote this down as Gengar opens its mouse. I meant mouth.
Wow.
Gengar opens its mouth and uses its massive tongue to lick opponents. Because let's get real, Lickitung will never be playable even though that's
No, it's
everyone's
not.
dreams. It's everyone's dream, but it's not going to happen. We'll
I
just
mean,
settle on
we could
Geno.
figure it out if we had to, but
Mm-hmm.
even me looking at like I'm just like, nah,
Yeah,
nah, I'm good.
yeah. So obviously it's a direct contact move, but anyone caught up in Gengar's Lickin' will drip in that spectral saliva you were talking about earlier. Fun enough. And a couple of things could happen, or maybe both. They could be shocked into a stillness, like when you're shot by Zero Suit Samus's stun gun, that kind of effect, for a
Or
few
the
moments.
Detonate effect as well.
Yeah, that effect too. Or they can have a bit of a harder time moving around until his spit dries off, which is just delicious, isn't it? So it could be both. It could easily be both. And then uh, Gengar's tongue is also multi-use. I don't know if you knew that. So you could connect it with a thrown item, like a Pokeball or a Dusk Ball or what have you, and Gengar will retrieve the item with its tongue.
Interesting. I like that. I like
So
that a lot.
because I knew that Lick would be such a standard kind of move, I just wanted to add that extra little spice into it.
Hmm. Now, here's a question I have for you on Lick.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody is holding side special. Can they repeatedly flick the tongue up and down, much like Sheik's old her old whip attack, or the Belmont whips?
Well, I hadn't thought of it, but
I
now that
feel
you
like
mention it,
that
now
would
that
be
you mention
fun.
it, that would work. I think that there would need to be like a lesser use of that. Like, say that initial long lick will hit the status effect, but you can still damage opponents and make them flinch a little bit if they connect with extra tongue hits.
Hmm.
No, yeah, I like that. I like that. Yes,
Interesting.
you're right. You're
I
right. Your presumption was correct, and I thought of that all along.
I will say I did really consider Lick as a side special, but unfortunately I didn't choose it. But
Mm-hmm.
I like what you proposed there. That's very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All
So
right.
now we get to the up special, which I'm honestly not satisfied with my up special, but I could not come up with anything that I
Mm-hmm.
really like better that also pulled from the moves.
Oh,
Because
is it
like
teleport?
I no, it's not teleport.
Thank goodness.
Fuck that. That was my one rule. Was like I'm not resorting to teleport. No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Too many characters teleport. Which, granted, I mean, a lot of times in an up special, teleport makes sense. All the times for down special, counter makes sense. But if a character can have literally anything else that fits them and makes sense, why would you pick teleport or counter?
Agreed.
Why?
Let's ask Sakurai why he chose counter like 10 times over. But anyway,
More than that, but yeah. But anyway, so for my up special, it's actually Smog.
interesting.
Smog being a poison type move where, the a Pokemon spits out a smog of poison gas,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're spit down the poison gas, well, you get poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have envisioned for this is that Gengar kind of like rocket launches itself up forwards. You could alter it a little bit. He just like it's like a really long jump. But when he does this, instead of leaving behind like a trail of smoky white clouds like a rocket would, it's actually noxious smog.
Good. Good
It
times.
doesn't really deal damage to an opponent in a traditional way. Like it's not like, hey, look, I hit you with this attack, now you're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But the smog hangs around for a brief few seconds, and if an opponent walks through it, well, they're technically under the poison status condition. They're taking damage as they're in the cloud. If they hang out in there too long, they'll actually be inflicted with poison after getting out of the cloud for a short amount of time.
I like it.
That
I
was the best I had.
I'm gonna give you what I actually came up with, but first I'm gonna come. I have an alternate idea for how to include smog as well, based off
Oh.
of what you just said. What you said is a lot more utilitarian in the scope of Smash. Like it just seems like a move that would be used as an up special and have that kind of more instant gratification than what I'm about to say. So
Mm-hmm.
this is maybe more of a bonus that we probably won't even consider, but just the aesthetic is cool, where Gengar will instead use that kind of iconic shifting, phasing out of, view, and you would only see maybe its mouth and tongue, like in your taunt that we shelved. Or did we shelve it? I don't even remember anymore. So,
It did get shelved.
okay, I'm not crazy. Not in this case, anyway. So, you would see its mouth and tongue wagging around, in this big cloud of noxious smoke that just appears around it, and then he can move with the smoke, kind of like in Harry Potter, that kind of moving with smoke.
Ah, like the
hmm
Death Eaters,
Like Death Eaters,
their fake
Ex-
teleports.
exactly. And it could be like a missile launch upwards, or you can just have it remain more of a casual smoke that doesn't really damage opponents too much. But if they do
Hmm.
get caught in the smoke while Gengar's moving, then they will be damaged with poison, and this will be something that Gengar won't deal a lot of knockback with. But during that period of time, maybe they'll have super armor within the cloud, and they can move upwards towards through platforms. I mean that, like maybe like Skyward platforms that you wouldn't normally be able to move through. There we go.
Right. So
Right.
so instead of rocketing up and leaving smoke or the smog coming from
hmm
behind him, it's more like he merges with the smoke and then launches himself up.
Yeah, yeah, just something a little more ghosty. But I do think it would be a little bit hard to incorporate in Smash, just practically. I just thought it would be cool to mention because it's like, oh, it looks cool.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, but my actual what I actually had written down was this was where I included Shadow Punch.
Oh,
Yeah, so I mean
is
I know
this
what you
like
think.
the Mii Brawler's rocket punch downwards?
No, no. It's more like a mix between Shoryuken and Zero Suit Samus's up special.
Oh,
Where Gengar's fist is, surrounded by that kind of ghostly electricity that you might see in the anime, and it's uh, leaps upward, and you can just imagine leaps upward a reasonable amount, and then it arcs back a bit in the opposite direction. It doesn't like automatically make a move and start falling down like the me brawler. Thank God,
hmm.
but I'm not a big fan of those kind of automatic go down moves like Incineroar has. But you can use the special button while in midair. So imagine like pressing B to release multiple weaker shadow punches. You know, from Gengar's fist on the way down. And if any punch lands the opponent, it will engulf them in dusk. That sort of thing. So that's what I had in mind, and
Okay.
it would be a stylized uppercut, where its hand would grow larger with ghostly illusion, and have, I don't know, some sort of like purple waves around it, something along those lines, something to make it cartoony. That's what I had in mind.
Okay. It's but it's like it's Shoryuken, but it's more like a shorter Shoryuken. Like it
Essentially,
doesn't
yeah,
go up as high.
yeah. And I imagine the trade off would be maybe if you used like the poor man's Shoryuken, which most of us would in utility in the mix of a Smash battle. Um, Maybe Gengar's hits a little harder than that.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. How about down specials?
So for my down special, um, it's lick. It's lick. 'Cause I did. I considered it for standard. I considered it for side, and I considered it for the down special. And I almost picked it for standard special. I almost made the Shadow Punch be the side,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, you know what? No, let's make lick be down special, and then we'll make Hex be the side.
Yeah.
So it's exactly how you referred to it earlier. He gives a lick. It can paralyze an opponent for a short time, which works well with Hex.
Mm-hmm.
You could hold it down and waggle the tongue a little bit. I actually hadn't thought of the idea of catching items out of midair. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And I'm incorporating that into my version of lick as well.
You thought of it all along. Oh man,
Yes, I just lied about where it was. I said, hey, I did it choose for my side, but I picked it for
I love it.
down.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna love at least the concept of what I have in mind for my down
I,
special.
I got a bad feeling because it's cursed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's curse.
I had a feeling.
So, just because you mentioned it not being in your moveset, I was like, oh, hoop de doo. So, Gengar glows an ethereal purple and a large, that large nail that appears in curse animations throughout Pokemon games. It appears just above his head, but instead of self-impaling, the nail then moves just a tiny bit to the right in clear spectral fashion. And if an opponent is hit by the nail at just the right proximity from Gengar, like directly underneath that nail, they'll be dealt considerable damage, and a random status effect will be endowed upon them. So that could be literally any status effect. So they could fall asleep, they could be poisoned, they could be paralyzed, they can catch on fire, be engulfed in aura, be engulfed in darkness, freeze. It's a curse, and that's how I figured I'd translate it into Smash. As far as the damage output goes onto Gengar itself, I honestly didn't really think about that too much. I know it's a big part of the move in Pokemon, and I also know that Smash is really passionate about, oftentimes at least, not always, incorporating true to character, true to original game moves. So I'm not sure how it would get around that. Maybe it deals some damage to Gengar, and it's, yeah. So maybe like if it lands that critical hit, maybe it deals the opponent some considerable damage, and it deals Gengar at least half of that damage to make up for it. Maybe. But then again, we can also consider Sakurai made up a move for Incineroar that wasn't in the game with Darkest Lariat, I think.
No, Dark Larry is Incineroar's signature move. You're wrong.
Well, I never played past Gen, what? 5. Not yet, anyway.
What?
Yep.
You didn't. Wow. Okay, well,
Yep.
that's gotta change first of fucking all. Christ.
Yep. Oh no! It was its counter move. That one.
Yeah, the counter move he made up.
So, anyway, that makes sense for Darkest
Actually,
Lariat to be its signature move, because that explains why it's in the game when it sucks. Let's see. Nevertheless, while you're looking that up,
no, his down special is not made up. His side was the Alone One
okay,
Whip.
that's right.
But it's taken straight from wrestling, so a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that one's okay.
It is. It play. Well, it's more like what I like to do oftentimes with my characters when I play into their expression and their traits. So I approve of that. Anyway,
So
if that nail doesn't hit them just right, then it'll just fall into the ground, and Gengar will have an opening to be attacked. Maybe if it hits them from the side a little bit, they'll have some standard damage. La-di-da.
So let me make sure I was understanding how this looks aesthetically. The nail appears. Does it actually hit Gengar in the beginning, or is it just like he takes damage as soon as the nail appears?
Yeah, he takes damage as the nail appears. So,
Okay, and then the nail it moves over to the side, then it plunges downward and tries to hit someone.
oh no, my apologies. Actually, I meant that if the nail makes contact with someone, then Gengar will be dealt damage.
Oh, okay. So he's only damaged if it actually has on somebody, but it does move from above his head to just in front of him, and then it slams downward.
Right.
Okay.
And if you want to make that a little more simple, you just have it appear right next to him, like
Right.
that from the
Like
beginning.
when I was considering curse for my moveset, the way I had it kind of envisioned in my mind was that the nail appears above Gengar's head, slams into the top of his head, he takes damage, and then there's like a dark, ghostly AoE effect that comes up super quick around him, and then it would either damage opponents or inflict a status effect. That was how I was kind of debating on it in my mind.
Got it. Yeah, I'm fine with that too. What's funny is that I just didn't know, thinking in my head, if we wanted to have like that terrifying image of self-infliction, and that's all that I was thinking about. But
I mean,
it does
it's
happen in
already in
Pokemon
Pokemon.
proper. Exactly. So I mean, if we went from that angle, and it sounds like we have pretty similar moves, with the exception of the starting animation. Um, eh, doesn't matter to me. You want to be more true to the game? Let's have it hit Gengar.
I feel like in order for it to really be cursed, the nail needs to hit Gengar.
All right.
Otherwise, and that's part of why I didn't include it because I was also concerned about do we want to show that or not.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is a bit of a different animation scenario than in the actual games,
Mm-hmm.
it does look different.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to like actually like looking like it's drilling a nail into something's head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Uh,
part of why I didn't really go with it.
yeah.
But I feel like if it's going to be curse, the
Okay.
nail needs to impale.
Okay. There are ways to make it so it doesn't look too visceral anyway.
Hmm.
So that's fine. Just have it happen quickly, and don't just
I mean,
drive it
if you want no
in. Like,
visceral, then
mm-hmm.
if you want no visceral, no blood, easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true too. Um, so there's that, and that plays into something a little later on too. Okay. Final Smash, I think, is next on the agenda.
Final Smash, I've got. It's pretty simple, never-ending nightmare.
Nice.
Plain and simple enough. You just see Gengar. He takes up the final pose that you would see in the Ghost type C move, where it kind of looks like he's got like his arms up, raised up like claws. He's kind of like just scare someone, and
Mm-hmm.
then a dark spectral, spooky, spectral thing kind of appears like a short distance in front of him. Opponent's caught it, goes to cutscene, and it pretty much just plays out the animation for the Z move, Never Ending Nightmare from Pokemon Sun and Moon. Where
Okay.
like it'll be like the character or characters are just like on this dark, empty plane. There's darkness all around them. They're looking around, they're scared, and like these dark, spectral, ghost-like hands come out of the ground, just start wrapping themselves all over the characters, encase them in this dome of darkness
Mm-hmm.
before it explodes, and we're back to the match.
Got it. Got it.
I considered having him Mega Evolve uh, before doing the move, but I was like, eh. In the games, you can't Mega Evolve and use the Z move. Meh. I'll just have the Z move be done.
Okay. Well, that is not all too different than what I had in mind, because when I went into researching Mega Gengar, I found that move, and I was like, okay, that works. And what I was thinking when they have him. So first of all, I didn't have the idea for the spectral imagery at the beginning, so I just had Gengar lunge forward with a Shadow Punch or maybe a Shadow Ball. I didn't fully decide.
Shadow Claw.
Yeah, okay, Shadow Claw, and then as it launches forward, anyone caught in its path will go into the cut sheen, and then I that's when Mega Gengar would come into play. It gets the Gengarite, it turns into Mega Gengar, and as those hands are engulfing the area and bringing them into darkness, the image of Mega Gengar looking ominous with its gigantic mouth appears near the bottom of the screen, and the hands drag opponents into Mega Gengar's mouth, and it chomps down back into battle.
Okay. That's not bad either.
No. No, it isn't.
It's kind of like how I think Incineroar's Final Smash, it's his Z move as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
they might have like changed a small part of it. I know the name is different, which
Mm-hmm.
bugged the hell out of me. Why would they change the name of it when it's the same damn thing? But
Yeah.
it's a Z move, but it adds just a little extra touch to it
Yeah,
that
what
makes it specifically Gengar, not just generic Ghost.
Yeah, and that's what I got it from an image that I saw of Gengar in Pokken Tournament, actually, where that was part of its moveset of
Hmm.
just engulfing its opponents like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've pretty much got the same Final Smash. It's just I like your extra additions in the animation. The
Mm-hmm.
only real difference from that point is how it hits somebody, whether it's a spectral blast out in front of him or
Mm-hmm.
it's him lunging out with Shadow Claw.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the Spectral Blast really plays into the ghostly character Gengar, and I just didn't think of it because it didn't pop up in my research.
Hmm.
So Shadow Claw is a move Gengar uses, so maybe there's legitimacy to that. As we already know, I'm not the Pokemon expert, as has been revealed this go around the sun. But what do you think? I'll defer to you on it.
Um, there's a lot of characters that use both
Mm-hmm.
methods, whether they have their cutscenes, which so one of the things actually I don't like about how Smash Ultimate changed Final Smashes is now the vast majority of them are cutscenes Final Smash, which they're pretty to look at, but it's not as fun as say flying around as Yoshi and spitting fireballs, or
Oh
running around
yeah.
as War, or the even better example because originally for Brawl we both thought that his Final Smash was going to be Yoshi Stampede, and that's what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But better example being
Hold on, you cut out. Okay, can I hear you now? No. Okay, hold on a hot second.
fuck.
Okay.
Hello,
Hello.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. What was the last thing you heard?
Uh, you just said Wario Man.
Did I say the thing about Yoshi Stampede?
Yeah, that was like 2 seconds before we stamped out. Was you said Yoshi Stampede?
Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
continue.
Okay.
Let me think. Where was I? That's one of the things actually I don't like about how Smash Ultimate dealt with Final Smash is that now the vast majority of them are cutscenes Final Smash, which yeah, they're pretty to look at, but you have a character like Wario who in Brawl and Smash 4 would turn into Wario Man, and you actually got to control him, run around, and deal stronger attacks that came out faster, stronger, and were just sometimes terrifying with his bike. Good God, don't use the bike when you're Wario Man. But now for Smash Ultimate, and I get Sakurai's, I get his idea that he was going for, which he wants to make things faster and get back into the battle proper, so
Mm-hmm.
the match doesn't lose too much in its momentum. But it was just so much more fun to actually get to control Wario Man than to have Wario go up there and punch someone. Now we're in a cutscene. He does a whole bunch of punches, ends on a fart.
Mm-hmm.
Eh. So
Agreed.
that's what I don't like about what Smash Ultimate did. But that's really another topic in general. But I feel like Gengar, he's less of a physical type character.
Mm-hmm.
For first of all, Ghost type pre Gen 4 was labeled as a special type.
Mm-hmm.
All Ghost type moves dealt special damage,
Yeah.
even if it didn't make sense. Like Shadow Punch
Mm-hmm.
or Shadow Claw. Thanks, Game Freak. But they fixed that in Gen 4. But even then, a lot of Ghost type moves are still considered to be special. And I think even Gengar, I'm going to have to look it up and check, but I think he's more geared towards the special attack stat, or at least more so than physical. I had to check to be sure, which I am actually doing right now.
All
Let
right.
me see here, because I'm good at this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a special attacker. It's his best stat. Speed is his second best. Like his special attack is 130. His physical is 65.
Nice.
So it makes way more sense for Gengar as a character to do like the shadowy blast than to lunge with a shadow claw.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So we're gonna go for, if I'm understanding you correctly, a shadowy blast for the start of it, and then
Yes.
kind of go for that mix of yours and mine for the cutscene.
Right. And that shadowy blast, it's not necessarily a distinct move that
Mm-hmm.
exists. It's just something he does. Like you could say it's Nightshade,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't a bad idea actually. Just make it be Nightshade.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I don't know, I'm looking at some of his other moves here, but that's really the only one that seems like it would fit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Understood.
I think that's best for starting the animation for his Final Smash.
Okay. Sounds good and fair for me. So, with that said, shall we move on to the extra skill before wrapping it all up?
Let's move to the extra skill.
Okay.
So my extra skill is actually a little bit similar to a move that Mewtwo has.
Mm-hmm.
Not Shadow Ball. We've
Teleport.
already discussed my thoughts on Shadow Ball. Not Teleport. We've already discussed my thoughts on Teleport. Not disable. Well, actually, no, yeah, not Disable.
Mm-hmm.
It's Confusion. Except I'm using Confusion. I'm using Confuse Ray.
Nice.
That's an actual Ghost type move.
Mm-hmm.
So I see this as sort of like a a very small, probably smaller than even Hex. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, maybe Hex should be increased in size a little bit. It's a small projectile that does a really lazy loop around as it goes forward. It's slow, so it should be easy to dodge in theory.
Mm-hmm.
But if it makes contact with an opponent, then for the next however many seconds, and it's a higher amount of time depending on how damaged the character is. Like it's going to last longer if they have 300% damage than if they have only 20% damage. But for that time period, their controls, at least their left and right, are reversed.
Nice.
They're
I like it.
confused.
I like
They
it.
don't know where they're going.
I'm not gonna like it when it affects me, but I like it in function.
Yes. And it would also trigger with Hex.
Like it.
Yes.
Good.
So like for at least for all the moves that we discussed, Hex
Mm-hmm.
will do extra damage. An opponent has been hurt by Lick, an opponent that's been hurt by Smog, an opponent that's been hurt by Curse, or an opponent that's been hurt by Confuse Ray.
Very good.
There's a reason I put in Hex.
Mm-hmm. Which brings me to my extra skill, Hex.
Hex.
So, I had the animation a little bit different, and yours is
Mm-hmm.
probably a lot more true to Pokemon. But I had him casting a collection of little purple embers that dance around and move forward with an ebb and flow, similar to Confuse Ray actually, with some haste, not too slow moving. So similar to the small Mewtwo's Shadow Ball move in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So if the embers connect with an opponent, they'll be dealt some light damage with some persistent dark flames until they dissipate after a while. But if the hex makes a target with an opponent who's also cursed or paralyzed by lick or anything like that, like you had in mind with the hex in your moveset, they'll be dealt considerably more damage, and you can rack up the damage while hex is affecting them. There you go.
Now, see, when you were describing how it looked, I thought you were describing Will-O-Wisp instead.
True.
Because like the small spectral balls of fire, I'm just like, do you mean Will-O-Wisp? But then you went to like the actual effects, and I was like, okay. So it's my move. It just aesthetically looks different.
Yeah, and really it can look like your move for all I care.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking Will-O-Wisp. Maybe subconsciously I was. I was just thinking Ghost.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's our move set. This is gonna be a little difficult, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Waluigi was a lot easier to kind of pick what moves we liked more.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, I mean, if I'm honest on the overall, I mean, I prefer mine, and you probably prefer yours on the overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Hex, I do think that Hex does make sense on the extra skill slot
Mm-hmm.
because it's sort of like a bonus thing for
Mm-hmm.
Gengar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hmm.
It's hard to say because our move sets are move wise not too different from one another.
Yeah, it's just a lot of times a move is in a different spot. Like we have Lick, Hex, and Shadow Punch just all in different areas,
Mm-hmm.
and at least for Shadow Punch, you're used in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of your moves? Let's look at it this way. Which one of your moves do you feel most strongly about, both as the move and where it's placed in the move set?
Gosh, even that is a little bit hard. Uh, just looking
I
over it.
feel like for me it's Shadow Punch
Mm-hmm.
because that was a move that I thought of when I immediately was like a year ago or whenever it was when I was thinking Gengar would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shadow Punch was like it immediately came to mind and he was like this move needs to be here.
Yeah, I get you, and that makes sense too because Shadow Ball, given its diagonal properties, could also be a side move if we used it.
Yeah.
Okay, so and I think
And I had considered Lick for both side, down, and extra skill. So that could
mm-hmm.
go in any of those spots just fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I think Shadow Punch should be incorporated. I think your way of doing Shadow Punch is more inventive than mine. So because is also actually kind of similar to your Smog, just without the punch.
Right.
So Shadow Punch in standard, iconic move of Gengar's. I think we can agree that's fine. That's a lock.
Let's look at the up special next. Since those are the only other two moves that they don't have a solid spot.
Right.
Technically, Shadow Punch is already standard, but that doesn't mean Shadow Punch can't be up special as well. It's kind of like a Shadow Shoryuken, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. What do you think about up special?
Up special, if we were just choosing between your Smog or my Shadow Punch, I kind of feel like I like my Shadow Punch and I like the utility. I like the various ways it can be used. But at the same time, I'm not sure how, when you have this broad spectrum of moves to take into account for Gengar,
Mm-hmm.
why would you go for two variations of the same move? Oh, yeah, because it's Smash Brothers, but no. We're
I
trying
mean,
to be beyond that. Hmm?
right. An alternate idea that could be done is sort of like Gengar will jump up a short distance, but as he's doing so, he's forming a Shadow Ball in his hands, and then at the apex of his jump, he's flipped upside down and he throws it down.
That could work too. Kind of, are you thinking a mix between Smog and Shadow Ball for that? Or are you just thinking more of a Shadow Ball and just
That
Shadow
it's
Punch?
pretty much just it's pretty much
Yeah,
just
got it.
Shadow Ball at that point, just being thrown downwards,
Right,
like
right.
directly down.
Got it.
Like there wouldn't be the smoke, the poisonous trail from Smog in that case.
Got it. Got it. Gosh, this late in the game, we're still coming up with new moves. Uh,
Oh yeah, of course.
this is a
I
tough
debated
one.
like there were like 10 moves that I was considering between when I was building this.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I like your Shadow Ball idea as well. And if we did that, then we would be freeing up move room on the side, and pretty much everything else besides standard and up will be a lot more difficult.
Hmm.
Um,
The only thing is
hmm,
we'd be having a same move as Mewtwo, just different ways, and we have that with other characters. Mario
yeah,
and Luigi both have Fireball.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Uh, God, at the same time, I am at a loss. I am at a loss because
Okay.
they will work fundamentally pretty similar, with the exception of one being a charged projectile and the other one being status effects.
Wait. Hold on. Shadow Ball's not a charged projectile in up special.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean. Okay, that could be a bit confusing. I just meant how it looks. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if we're kind of at a loss on up special, let's move on for now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out what we want to do between side, down, and extra skill. Christ. Because for side, we have currently Hex or Lick, and you've mentioned that Shadow Ball could become a new side as well, kind of like how Robin has Fire as his side.
Mm-hmm.
Down is marked as either being Lick or Curse.
Mm-hmm.
Extra skill is either Confuse Ray or Hex, and theoretically, Lick could also fit there just as easily, or even Curse.
Mm-hmm.
So I first of all, I want Lick somewhere.
Agreed.
Absolutely want Lick. I think thematically Lick works better to me personally as either a down or an extra compared to a side, but it could still fit side.
Got it.
What are your thoughts on those options that we have?
It's difficult for me because I approached the creation of this move set just like what moves are most closely associated with Gengar,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel in those respects that I've run the gamut on getting those moves incorporated. So
Okay.
I feel like Lick is an iconic move to Gengar and should be there. But then at the same time, Curse is a big move for Ghost type Pokemon. And the easy way out might be to not incorporate Curse and then move forward. But it is a big move for Ghost type Pokemon. And I do have a bit of a passion for it too.
That's really the trick, isn't it? It's like
Mm-hmm.
we both agree that that Curse is such a huge iconic ghost type move.
Mm-hmm.
Even if, nobody fucking uses it ever. Because
Yeah.
we're all just like, why would I want to use this move? This sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like in games, it's extremely fitting. It's just in Smash, it's a bigger question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to want to do potentially heavy damage to themselves just for a stats effect.
That's true.
So something this is a different idea I'm throwing out there, and I'm not sure if this would work either. What if there was a Pokeball Pokemon of some, maybe it's Ghastly, who knows, uses Curse, and
Hmm.
it does damage the person that summoned Ghastly, but it does a huge AOE effect of a status effect or damaging other opponents. What would
Yeah,
that be a way to compromise it? It's technically
that's.
not Gengar at all. This has nothing to do with the character moveset, but
Hmm.
it is another way that Curse could work in Smash with Ghosts.
That's true. And Smashtopia is not just related to characters. We do everything on the site.
Indeed.
So okay, yeah, that is a way we can go, and that might be honestly the simplest route because we might be discussing this all night otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that. And in that case, I feel like we can move Lick to down.
Okay.
Hmm.
And someday, who knows, maybe after this episode, I'll just throw Ghastly up on a Smashtopia, or we might do a whole episode based solely on what Pokemon can we put in Smash and how can they work. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, that.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Moving past characters on these episodes every once in a while will be something that we do as we continue on.
Yes.
Hmm.
Whether it be stages, items, assist trophies, or Pokemon, or even bosses.
Hmm.
We want to do more than just characters.
Yep, we're gonna
And maybe
decide
that's a
who's the
tease.
boss of this podcast.
Masterfoot?
Yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got Shadow Punch as our standard, we've got
Hmm.
Lick as our down, we've got Never Ending Nightmare as our final smash.
Hmm.
We still need to figure out up special between Smog, Shadow Shoryuken, that's just what I'm calling it because
Hmm.
it amuses me,
Hmm.
or Shadow Ball. Side special as much as being Hex or Lick, or it could potentially be Shadow Ball as well.
Hmm.
And extra skill is currently either Confuse Ray or Hex.
Hmm. Let's see here. You mentioned that Hex is more of
Could,
an extra skill to Gengar in the games. What was that?
what I was meaning by that is like I could see the argument for it being an extra skill because it's sort of like it's an extra effect. Like,
Oh,
hey,
got it.
it's another attack that I'm doing, but this attack is better when you're already being affected by a
That's
status
true.
condition.
That's true.
So I could see that argument as well. And also, I meant to say as well that Confuse Ray could also theoretically work as a side special.
Hmm. That's true. And you mentioned Lick earlier too, but we already have that as the down special.
Yeah.
Um,
So we could have Confuse Ray as the side and Hex as the extra.
that's true. And then on that basis, I think just choosing between Smog, Shadow Shuriken, or Shadow Ball. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Shuriken is just another form of Shadow Punch. It's a different way to approach it, and it would work. But I'm just going back to that other argument in my head where I'm thinking Smash fans would probably be like, oh, we could have gotten something else like Smog or Shadow Ball. Um, and then I'm just thinking between Smog and Shadow Ball. I think that what I'm thinking there is Shadow Ball is another move that is iconic to Gengar. So what I personally would do, and we have all the room for discourse in the world, I would move Confuse Ray aside, I would move Hex to extra skill, and I would use Shadow Ball as the up.
Okay. So if Shadow Ball is going to be our up, let's discuss that one a little bit more so we can both get an idea of exactly how it works. So I threw out an idea, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really fully fleshed out.
Got it. Yep.
So the idea behind Shadow Ball being the up special, as opposed to like how Mewtwo has it with side where he charges up and it kind of like travels forward in a wavy pattern. For this one, Gengar jumps probably about comparable with like Mario's up special, Super Jump Punch. Maybe a
Yeah.
little shorter, hard to really say there, but
Mm-hmm.
probably something relatively comparable to that. And as he's jumping, he's sort of like forming the shadow ball in his hands on the way up, flipping around himself until he gets to the apex of the jump, where he's facing down at the ground and then throws the shadow ball straight down. If it's an opponent, they're blasted. If it hits a platform, then it's sort of like a small AOE shadowy explosion at the where it hits the ground.
Yeah, I like that. I was originally going to say, do you want to throw it diagonally instead of downwards? But I think with the AOE effect, that helps the downwards spiral
Yeah.
have more ground. Yeah, I like that. I like that
Okay. It
idea.
sounds like we've got the moveset all done and taken care of.
Phew.
All
Yeah.
right. That was a difficult one. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start with Waluigi, where a lot of times we had either like the same idea or like but upgraded. This time it was
Oh, I
like we
love
got the
that
same
Waluigi pinball.
ideas. Fuck you. This time around it was a lot of I had the same idea but in a different place. Like, okay,
Yeah,
where are we gonna
yeah.
put these?
It was a lot. It was a game of Tetris, 4D
Yeah.
mind Tetris.
Because like what you and the viewers may not know is when I'm coming up with moves, I write down a whole bunch of possibilities to start out with. Like
Mm-hmm.
I might have like 10 or 15 different potential moves that I'm writing down, especially when it comes to Pokemon, because you can just pull anything out of there.
Oh yeah.
And then I think about how each of them could work, and I'm like, okay, if this move works like this, where would it fit on the move set? Like with Lick, I would figure out, okay, Lick could theoretically be a standard special, a side, a down, or an extra skill. It could fit in any of those
Mm-hmm.
spots.
Yeah,
And I
that's
had to
true.
just figure out from there the puzzle of, okay, well, if I put this one here, then what goes here? And I just sort of like had to jigsaw it together. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could have had Hex be extra and had Lick be the side. I could have
Mm-hmm.
easily thought of that. I just didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, over here, I was just thinking between Shadow Ball for standard, Shadow Punch for standard, Razor Leaf for standard. It was a difficult process as well, but I don't approach it with the same level of technique that you do, and I think that a lot of people wouldn't. So it's appreciated your meticulous research and technique.
I'm sorry. Did you say Razor Leaf?
I don't think so. Maybe we'll play it back.
I'm pretty sure you said Razor Leaf.
Okay, you can believe what you want to believe.
If it was Will-O-Wisp, I wouldn't have, thought anything of it. But Razor Leaf, what?
Yeah, my Gengar learned that in Generation. What game was it again? Pokemon Z5. Shadows of another world.
Uh huh.
Okay.
Sure.
Yep.
I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm.
Gengar has never once been able to learn Razor Leaf in any Pokemon game. Period.
Oh. Well, what's the incentive for playing Gen 7 then? Anyway.
The Wild area?
True.
Oh no,
True.
that's Gen 8. My bad. The incentive for playing Gen 7. Tapu Koko.
Incineroar, I'm sure.
Eh.
Okay, so are we going to talk home stage?
Before we talk home stage,
Mm-hmm.
we need to talk about some unique traits that
True.
Gengar could have.
True. Okay.
I have three possible things that we could give Gengar here.
Okay.
First of all, no crawling, no wall cling, no wall jump. None of that.
Okay.
No, that doesn't fit Gengar at
Mm-hmm.
all. Instead, the first thing I have is the possibility of having extra jumps
Mm-hmm.
because he's a big old he's a ghost, but he's also like a big old essentially like a gas.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense that he could maybe have like an extra jump or possibly two. I'm not too sure. What do you think?
I can see a third jump easily. I think with the Gengar's girth, maybe a fourth wouldn't make too much sense. But
Okay.
a third, that would work.
All right, I'm down for that.
Mm-hmm.
The second unique trait I have for him is something that's actually something that Jigglypuff actually has. You know how Jigglypuff is when it's in the air, you can just float all over the darn place and have like this massive control of the air.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that makes a lot of sense for Gengar as well because again, Ghost and he's
Mm-hmm.
super lightweight.
I agree with that. I thought that when you mentioned Jigglypuff, you might be taking it into another direction with Gengar's trait, and that was something that I had in mind. But I'll just save it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of like attach to that as well, like while he's super floaty in midair and he can really float around wherever he wants to, much like how Jigglypuff can. In the air, he's lightweight, he's easy to launch, but when he's
Mm-hmm.
actually making contact with the ground, he's actually a little bit heavier. So he's a little bit harder to launch. But once he is in that air, it's relatively easy to knock him around.
I could see that happening. I could see that working. It's a negative trait, which is why I'm like, oh no, but yeah, we could do that too. If you think it makes sense, I am all for it.
I mean, Pichu is a negative trait where it damages itself.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's true. Okay, yeah.
So my third unique trait, which is this is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
When Gengar, when special, I'm trying to, when abilities were
Mm-hmm.
first introduced to the Pokemon games with Generation 3, Ruby and Sapphire, Gengar was given Levitate, which basically just means it has immunity to ground type moves, which
Mm-hmm.
is nice because as a part poison type, it's weak to ground.
Mm-hmm.
That, however, changed with Generation 7, when its ability instead changed to Cursed Body, which, as I will pull out the text for Cursed Body to read its effect, which I should have had prepared ahead of time, but I did not. Cursed Body. When a Pokemon with this ability is hit by a damaging move, there's a 30% chance that the Cursed Body will disable that move of the attacking Pokemon for 4 turns.
Huh.
So, here's what I have in mind for Cursed Body. When you are shielding, and you let go of the shield button to form a perfect shield, the opponent kind of enters like a short hit, stun, stagger type of deal. I'm not super competitive player, so I'm not super up on the exact details of perfect shielding, what it affects. But that's more or less what my understanding of how it works. So I thought, what if when Gengar pulls off a perfect shield, Cursed Body activates, and not only is the opponent kind of staggered for a very short time, but for a few. I'm not sure the time. I feel like it should be longer than a few seconds because it's not too punishing
Mm-hmm.
otherwise. But whatever move it was that was that was making contact when the perfect shield got triggered, assuming it's a physical move. If it's
Mm-hmm.
range, it doesn't do anything. But if it's a physical move, then that move is disabled for a short time.
Good thinking, my friend.
The real trouble with it is
Mm-hmm.
how long is this move disabled? Because if it's too long, then it's OP. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's only like 2 or 4 seconds, then it's literally nothing. Because
Yeah.
like, okay, let me use any of my other 20 moves.
Mm-hmm. I think if you just knock that up by about 2 times the percentage rate, maybe if it's 6 to 8 seconds or closer to 9 or 10, I think that would be still fair, but more punishing.
So 8 seconds, you'd say.
I would say. I would say.
Okay. So if Cursed Body activates, you pull out the perfect shield, it's a physical move, then for 8 seconds that opponent cannot use that move. And if they try,
Mm-hmm.
the opponent, the character, they kind of like they act like they're trying to do something,
Mm-hmm.
but it fails for whatever reason, and they're kind of like just a little bit frustrated.
Mm-hmm. I like it, and I can see how it worked too because it's that a unique trait of Gengar's and having it, and it's not something that'd be very common. You would have to pull off that perfect shield. If this were a down special, it might be a little OP, but it's not. So it's good.
Yeah, I initially considered trying to see if I could make this work as like a down special or an extra skill, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, no,
Nah, it would be too
wasn't
often.
liking it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought about maybe it's just a maybe you didn't even have the perfect shield, or maybe you just had like the shield against move. I was like, no, that's too powerful as well. It's got to be a perfect shield, or this doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's
I
something
like
that
all those,
no other character has a mechanic like that in Smash.
and no other
None of
character
them.
really would. So I'm
No, no.
I'm down for that. So the extra skill that I thought of, I actually didn't have. I mean, unique trait. The unique trait that I had in mind, I did not think of it until we were in the midst of this podcast,
Oh,
and it was when you were actually talking about your second unique trait, relating it back to Jigglypuff. My mind actually just brain blasted into a positive direction. So what I think is that Gengar could sing. Intermittently, just while walking around, it would sing its own name. So similar to Jigglypuff, although I think it would be a little bit more gruff. So it'd be like Gengar, Gengar. And that's my thought. Your
What?
your silence spoke volumes. I know you love it, so I guess we'll put it on the site. Guess that'll be a thing.
I'm confused.
By what? I think it's fairly.
I'm confused because I don't know
It
if
won't
you're
put them to
legitimate.
sleep. It won't put them to sleep either. It'll be different. It won't scare them because it's such a nice sonata that is being provided to the realm that all characters will be distracted by clapping.
Okay, now this brought to mind a new taunt idea. Just like of Gengar literally trying to troll specifically Jigglypuff, and instead of singing Jigglypuff's song, it's just like Gengar. It's like just the one sound of its name in that same tune as
Hell,
taunt specifically to fuck with Jigglypuff.
maybe if you beat Jigglypuff and you're in a victory pose, Gengar can have a unique victory pose,
You know
which
what?
is that,
Hang on, let's
and just toss it in. It's kind of like how
you know
Lucina has different voice clips. Hmm?
that would work with the balancing on the circus ball. So the other two victory poses doesn't quite
Mm-hmm.
work with, but that one you could easily throw that in there. I like that
I
actually. I'm writing that
I'll
down.
say that's funny. Who knew that this was going to lead to somewhere productive?
I sure as hell didn't. Honestly, I don't know how we even have one episode uploaded. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 5.
Five. Yeah,
Oh boy,
that
this
was
is the
awesome.
thing. So, all right, moving away from unique traits, we got two more
Mm-hmm.
things to discuss here with Gengar.
Mm-hmm.
The first being alternate costumes.
Right.
Now, unlike I don't know what you have thought here, but unlike Waluigi, where we had multiple different outfits that he could actually wear, Gengar doesn't really have that. And Pikachu and Jigglypuff and Pichu as well, they have the little hats that they'll wear. But I
Mm-hmm.
also don't really see that working for Gengar. Although now that I say that, top hat and monocle would be pretty funny.
Oh, I
But
thought of one.
what I have written down for him is just simple color changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a dark red, dark blue, dark green, and a dark orange, sort of like a little bit of a Halloween pumpkin-y vibe
Mm-hmm.
there. Straight black because he's traditionally dark purple.
Mm-hmm.
I have a one that's listed as shiny Gengar, which is more or less kind of a gray.
Mm-hmm.
I have white listed down, which is what shiny Mega Gengar looks like, and shiny Mega Gengar is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So love that. His ninth color I have written down here is a mustard yellow. So
Mm-hmm.
basically like a dark yellow.
Nice.
And the last one, just for a little teensy bit of amusement, light pink. Because
Once
hey,
again,
even Gengar wants some love.
playing back on Jigglypuff again. Um.
That wasn't the idea, but sure.
Yep. Well, it all comes back to Jigglypuff in the end for us all.
I mean, Gengar would have been a better Pokemon to have in the original Smash than Jigglypuff.
Ah. Yep.
Just saying, Sakurai. Just saying.
Nevertheless, this is the legacy we've been left with, and that's fine by me since I have become a Jigglypuff. Well,
That explains
for
everything.
Gengar, I'm just gonna lob a few ideas your way because number one, I had the same general idea of just going for alternate colors, and there's not all too much you can do with it unless you start pulling from different Pokemon, and I didn't really have many ideas come up for that.
Yeah, for Gengar, it's kind of hard to do that because
Mm-hmm.
he's really just dark purple. There's really nothing else to him.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of maybe we can go into the original Game Boy colors or the Generation One colors and have a blue Gengar, a red Gengar, and have them be somewhat muted colors like that purple that he is,
Yeah,
and a darkish green color that's more tealish like the Game Boy color I had. That would be cool. And to that same extent, you can have maybe an Arctic Ice Gengar, like I think you've already described. And you mentioned the monocle earlier. That would be very
I did.
entertaining. We can incorporate that if you want to. The other one that I had in mind was Halloween time. I could see a witch kind of hat or a sorcerer's kind of hat working on Gengar as well.
Better idea for the
Mm-hmm.
Black Gengar alt. you know that really horrible looking skeleton costume,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, oh yeah, it's like a black jumpsuit, and it's just like got white bones on it. Ooh,
Yeah.
do that, but
Yeah.
they'd obviously like be different proportions because it's Gengar.
Yeah. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Other than that, honestly, my alternate costumes are not all that creative. In fact, they're so uncreative that I will tell you that they're non existent because I forgot to write them down.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, but not a big deal.
Nope, not at all.
So, cool. With that, this has been
With
a
that,
this has been an
yes.
episode. This has been an episode.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you come up with an ideas, and sometimes you get shown up.
Yep. Well, no, sometimes you don't show up at all.
Yes. What
Anyway,
happened to that guest we are supposed to have this episode?
I don't know.
They died on us. They
Gengar ate
became a
them.
Gengar.
Yep.
Yes. Poor Rick.
Poor
He
Rick.
became the Gengar, and so we're making a moveset for Rick.
Poor Rick. He just wanted to make the Commonwealth a better place.
He just wanted to start out the buffet with 2 plates. He was willing to pay for that second plate. That's all he wanted.
Oh man, you know what Rick would have wanted even more was for us to give his Gengar a stage.
Ah, yes. And I feel like we both agree there's only one stage that really makes sense for Gengar.
Agreed.
And that's a pineapple under the sea.
I was gonna say the SSN, so we're kind of thematic there with the blue skied ocean.
What? The
Yep.
SSN? That makes no sense. Why
No,
not
it's
Pokemon Tower?
yeah, yeah. That was mine too.
Uh huh. Sure was. You actually
Mm-hmm.
had SSN, didn't you? I know
No, it's
you.
Pokemon Tower. No, it's Pokemon Tower. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing
Yeah.
is, like with Pokemon Tower, I actually don't have an idea for how it would work. I
Mm-hmm.
could come up with something, but at this point in time, all I know is, I mean, it's Pokemon Tower. It's gotta be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What else
I,
can
I
it be?
I couldn't approach it from whether we should have it inside with all of the grave markers or outside of the tower.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of approached it multifaceted. I just kind of assumed it would be outside of the tower, so you can see it towering upwards, and then I would have it shift from day to night. At night, a variety of ghost type Pokemon will appear in the background. In the daytime too, you can have Drifloon floating up in the air or something. Nighttime, you can have Ghastly and Haunter, other Gengar maybe, Spiritomb, Trevenant, Gorgeist, whatever. All manner of ghost type Pokemon appear in the background, flying around the tower, appearing in front of it, watching the fight ensuing on hand. I assume that around the tower would be like flat grassland, but what I had in mind to play into the ghostly theme was to have stone platforms that look like a similar material to the tower,
Mm-hmm.
and they materialize in different formats. Like one can be a long platform in the center, similar to Smashville or something along those lines. A battlefield like setup, obviously, just because it's kind of given at this rate, and so on. So different platforms would rise and fall at different times, and they would not rise and fall really, materialize out of thin air and then materialize back into nothingness.
Okay.
And the platforms are also decrepit to kind of play into this kind of ancient lore of the tower, and they can be destroyed like in Skyworld. Maybe if you jump on them too many times, they'll fall apart.
Interesting.
That was my idea.
I like that a lot. The only thing I would add to that is there needs to be some kind of ghostly shenanigans going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what these
True.
shenanigans are, I don't really know. But
Mm-hmm.
like going back again to that anime episode, that Ghastly Hunter and Gengar that Ash meets,
Mm-hmm.
they just love to have fun. They love
Mm-hmm.
to play games, and if you're not about having fun, they will just be mean to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like whether it's those specific Pokemon or just different ghosts in general, there needs to be something going on with the stage that it's like they're having some kind of an effect on it, in addition to the platforms appearing and going away.
Mm-hmm.
What it is, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out at some other time.
Yeah, that's fine by me. In the meantime, and that proves this is Smashtopia episodes are a workshop. We are setting down live and we are figuring this all out as we go. And
Yep.
sometimes that'll happen. We're not gonna hold ourselves down onto finalizing every last detail right away. If we,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
like we don't tell each other what we have planned. We might tease each other. It's like, oh, I've got something crazy here.
oh yeah,
But like we never know what the other person's gonna say.
mm-hmm. Like who knew that Gengar's song would make it into a victory post? That was a
Who,
good
who
one.
knew that we both were gonna say Waluigi pinball?
Oh man, that was a good one.
I mean, that was a. I was so angry.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it because it was real. Yeah, and who knew that one of my ideas for Chucky was to have Boppo appear in front of him as his down special?
It's like
Okay,
every episode, it's a new bit for you.
that's the plan. That's the plan. Although I am passionate about Chucky, we'll return to that at a later date. In the meantime, I think that that's a wrap on Gengar. I'm excited to see this one go up.
Oh
This
yes,
was this was a good discussion, my good friend.
I'm really glad that I ended up not making that Gengar moveset a long time ago, like I wanted to, because this was a perfect first Pokemon to make a moveset for our podcast.
Exactly.
Like we could have done Eevee, we
Mm-hmm.
could have done Genesect,
Mm-hmm.
or I
Buzzwole.
don't know, Buzzwole. Yeah, we could have done that one, I guess, or like
Yeah.
Zoroark or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Gengar worked well.
Gengar is a
And
phenomenal
I'm sure
Pokemon.
we'll do more Pokemon. We just because Pokemon are so easy to come up with stuff. They have so much potential. We
Mm-hmm.
just have to be careful not to do too much. We
Agreed.
can't do all of just one series because Smash isn't just about
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah. Agreed. And can I certainty that I can say that our next episode after this, episode 6, will be another Smash or Dash, of course, and we'll be having two pair ups of Ganon versus Tetra and Ribbon Girl versus Marshall.
And when we say Ganon, we mean classic Pig Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
Not this rambling beast in Twilight Princess. Not this dark cloud in Breath of the Wild. No, 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 no. We mean that blue furred, cape wearing, trident wielding classic.
Absolutely. And not to downplay Tetra either. That,
No.
yeah. We will, in Ribbon Girl versus Marshall, those are two IPs of varying acclaim that Nintendo has pushed out recently. Well, Rhythm Heaven is an ongoing series, but recent games. And yeah, we'll talk more at you about that in a couple weeks,
Oh, yes.
or whenever you happen to be listening to this. It could be years from the time we're
It could
recording it.
be right now.
It could be right now, and it is right now. That's with certainty. With that said, Gengar has come to a close. I applaud you. I applaud us. And I say to the audience, to cap things off, Gengar, Gengar, Gengar.
Ghastly.